What is the primary purpose of psychological testing? A. To diagnose mental illnesses. B. To measure psychological attributes or traits. C. To prescribe medication for psychological disorders. B. To measure psychological attributes or traits. The primary purpose of psychological testing is to measure and assess various psychological attributes, such as intelligence, personality traits, or emotional functioning. While testing may inform diagnostic processes, its main goal is to quantify psychological characteristics rather than diagnose specific mental illnesses. How is psychological testing defined? A. A method of psychotherapy. B. A systematic procedure for assessing psychological attributes. C. A form of recreational activity. B. A systematic procedure for assessing psychological attributes. Psychological testing is defined as a systematic procedure or process for evaluating and measuring psychological attributes or traits using standardized measures and procedures. It involves the administration of tests under controlled conditions to obtain reliable and valid results. What distinguishes psychological testing from other assessment methods? A. It solely focuses on observable behaviors. B. It involves the use of standardized measures and procedures. C. It relies on subjective impressions of the examiner. B. It involves the use of standardized measures and procedures. Explanation: Psychological testing distinguishes itself from other assessment methods by its reliance on standardized measures and procedures. These standardized tests are administered and scored in a consistent manner to ensure reliability and validity of results. Which of the following is not a typical purpose of psychological testing? A. Predicting future behavior. B. Assessing personality traits. C. Treating psychological disorders directly. C. Treating psychological disorders directly. While psychological testing can inform treatment decisions, its primary purpose is not to treat psychological disorders directly. Instead, testing helps clinicians understand clients' psychological functioning, identify areas of strength and weakness, and make informed decisions about appropriate interventions. In psychological testing, what does the term standardization refer to? A. Administering tests under controlled conditions. B. Customizing tests for individual needs. C. Analyzing test results for statistical significance. A. Administering tests under controlled conditions. Standardization in psychological testing refers to administering tests under controlled conditions to ensure consistency across administrations. This includes standardized procedures for test administration, scoring, and interpretation. What is one of the primary benefits of psychological testing? A. Providing therapy to clients. B. Identifying strengths and weaknesses. C. Eliminating the need for clinical interviews. B. Identifying strengths and weaknesses. One of the primary benefits of psychological testing is its ability to identify individual strengths and weaknesses across various psychological domains. This information can be valuable for personal development, educational planning, or treatment interventions. Which statement best describes the role of psychological testing in clinical practice? A. It is used to confirm preconceived diagnoses. B. It helps clinicians make informed decisions about clients' needs. C. It is primarily used for entertainment purposes. B. It helps clinicians make informed decisions about clients' needs. Explanation: Psychological testing plays a crucial role in clinical practice by providing clinicians with objective data to inform their understanding of clients' psychological functioning and to make informed decisions about their needs, treatment planning, and interventions. What aspect of psychological testing contributes to its reliability? A. Standardization of procedures and scoring. B. Subjectivity in interpretation. C. Varying test conditions for different individuals. A. Standardization of procedures and scoring. Standardization contributes to the reliability of psychological tests by ensuring consistent administration, scoring, and interpretation procedures across different examiners and testing sessions. This helps minimize sources of error and increases the consistency of test results. Which of the following best describes the goal of psychological testing? A. To eliminate individual differences. B. To understand and describe behavior. C. To establish superiority over others. B. To understand and describe behavior. The primary goal of psychological testing is to understand and describe individuals' psychological attributes, such as intelligence, personality traits, or emotional functioning. Testing provides quantitative measures that help psychologists characterize behavior and psychological processes. What ethical principle guides the use of psychological testing? A. Autonomy. B. Beneficence. C. Indifference. B. Beneficence. The ethical principle of beneficence guides psychologists to promote the well-being of individuals and society. In psychological testing, this involves using assessment procedures that benefit clients, protect their rights, and minimize harm. How do psychologists ensure the validity of psychological tests? A. By using ambiguous questions. B. By comparing test scores with established criteria. C. By administering tests in uncontrolled environments. B. By comparing test scores with established criteria. Psychologists ensure the validity of psychological tests by comparing test scores with established criteria or benchmarks. Validity refers to the extent to which a test measures what it claims to measure, and this criterion-related validity is one method used to establish validity. What is the primary difference between psychological testing and psychological assessment? A. Psychological testing is more subjective. B. Psychological assessment is more comprehensive. C. There is no difference between the two terms. B. Psychological assessment is more comprehensive. Psychological testing typically focuses on the quantitative measurement of specific psychological attributes using standardized tests. In contrast, psychological assessment is a broader process that may include testing but also involves gathering information through interviews, observations, and other methods to provide a comprehensive understanding of an individual's psychological functioning. How do psychologists address cultural diversity in psychological testing? A. By ignoring cultural factors altogether. B. By using culturally biased tests. C. By developing culturally fair and sensitive measures. C. By developing culturally fair and sensitive measures. Explanation: Psychologists address cultural diversity in psychological testing by developing culturally fair and sensitive measures that consider the cultural backgrounds and experiences of test takers. This involves ensuring that tests are culturally appropriate, free from bias, and accessible to individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds.